The moon has been taken by aliens. What does this mean for us? Right now. If you're lying in bed with your legs crossed, close your eyes. And imagine the night sky tonight. It's beautiful. Just as you're about to take a photo of the moon with your phone. Suddenly, in that very second, the moon vanishes completely. Like a chalk drawing erased by God. It's gone. And you can't even edit the moon back into your phone's photo. You might think the world would instantly plunge into darkness. But in reality, the first to sense the disaster isn't your eyes, but the bottomless ocean. You must understand. The moon's gravitational pull on Earth is like an invisible giant hand, constantly gripping the world's oceans. The moment that hand vanishes, the tidal bulge that had been pulled upward will snap back to the seabed, like a steel cable that has lost its spring tension. This is no ordinary wave. It is a global displacement of trillions of tons of seawater, driven by gravitational inertia. Those bustling cities built along the coast, New York, Shanghai, Tokyo, London, their proud skylines are, in that moment, as fragile as sandcastles on the beach. The sea no longer rises and falls gently, but surges inland with extreme violence. The sensation is like holding a basin full of water in your hands, while running only to be suddenly kicked from the side. But the backflow of seawater is merely the appetizer. The most brutal move lies deep within the Earth's crust. Have you ever realized that the Earth isn't actually a solid, hard sphere? Its interior is filled with flowing magma. When the moon was there, it not only held the oceans in place, but also, like a masseuse, constantly tugged at the Earth's interior. Now that this masseuse has let go, the Earth's internal stress balance, which had been maintained for billions of years, has been completely thrown off balance the moment the moon vanished. The tectonic plates, having lost their gravitational constraints, and undergo violent rebound and displacement. Immediately after, you'll hear a dull roar emanating from the depths of the Earth. It's the collective awakening of volcanoes worldwide. Those dormant volcanoes that have slept for thousands of years will erupt violently due to the sudden shift in internal pressure. Magma and volcanic ash will blanket the sky like a black carpet. This is quite interesting. You originally thought you'd merely lost a streetlight, but it turns out what you've lost is the load-bearing wall of the entire house. Even more absurd is, the Earth's rotation will begin to spiral out of control. Many people don't realize it is precisely because of the moon's role as a brake that the Earth's rotation remains at 24 hours a day. Without the moon's gravitational friction, the Earth would spin faster and faster. In that moonless future, a day might shrink to just a few hours. What does that mean? It means you wouldn't even have time to finish your dinner before the sun sets. It means the atmosphere, whipped up by this high-speed rotation, would unleash one relentless super hurricane after another. You tell me, amid such gales and earthquakes, would our skyscrapers, the pride of our civilization, along with our internet cables and power grids, even survive the first 24 hours? The even harsher truth is, this is merely the first minute of the disaster. And that's quite interesting. We always think of ourselves as the masters of this planet, believing that by mastering technology and harnessing nuclear energy, we can defy nature. But let us be honest, all of our civilization is built upon the gravitational order bestowed upon us by the moon. Though the moon is 380,000 kilometers away, it is the one truly maintaining the Earth's dignity behind the scenes. When it vanishes, it takes with it not just the moonlight, but also the physical certainty upon which humanity depends. Have you noticed that sense of relief after surviving a catastrophe? Hasn't he even had a chance to set in before a deeper fear has already crept up your spine? Because you realize the ground beneath your feet is no longer solid. The sky above is no longer still. Even time itself begins to shatter. And this is merely the prologue to this cosmic nightmare. Have you ever realized that the seasons we experience, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, that cyclical rhythm of plants growing and withering, is actually built upon an extremely precise physical coincidence? This coincidence is Earth's tilt of approximately 23.5 degrees. It is precisely because of this tilt that sunlight can travel back and forth between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn throughout the year, bringing temperature variations to the Earth, bringing seasons, bringing the rhythms upon which life depends. But there lies a deeper secret. Earth wasn't always this stable. In the vast, pitch-black solar system, Earth is actually like a spinning top. If you've ever played with a spinning top, you know, without external interference, it will start to wobble violently as it spins, and eventually fall over completely. And the moon is the hand of God that constantly steadies the spinning top. With its immense, unceasing gravitational pull, firmly locks Earth's south rotational axis in place. It acts as Earth's natural stabilizing anchor. Now, if that anchor were removed, you might think Earth would remain stationary. How naive. The moment it loses the moon's gravitational pull, Earth would instantly become a drunken man sliding wildly across ice. The Earth's axis would begin to swing violently and uncontrollably. This oscillation, on an astronomical scale, might be rapid, or so slow it would drive you to despair. Put simply, this means the Amazon rainforest, which should be basking in the scorching sun at the equator, could suddenly be flung to the polar regions within just a few hundred years or even decades. Imagine that scene. A once lush rainforest, teeming with the chirping of insects and birds, where temperatures plummet from over 30 degrees Celsius to minus 60 degrees in a matter of days. Those massive ancient trees, before they could even shed their leaves, before being frozen into crystalline ice sculptures, billions of living creatures wouldn't even have time to cry out, before being instantly frozen solid by the polar cold currents. Meanwhile, Antarctica might be undergoing an unprecedented trial by fire. Ice sheets that have remained frozen for millions of years would collapse and melt at an astonishing rate. Those ancient viruses locked deep within the ice, prehistoric atmospheres, will all be released like ghosts. You will find that the maps we once knew are completely useless. Greenland has turned into a tropical beach, and the Sahara Desert may have become an ocean. The word season will have lost all meaning by then. One week you might still be enduring 40-degree heat, and the next week, when you open the door, it's already snowing heavily outside. This extreme, erratic climate lottery will drive all life on Earth mad. What's even more brutal is that this instability is unrelenting, because without the moon's stabilizing influence, the friction between the Earth's core and mantle will become exceptionally intense. This friction will generate immense heat. With nowhere for this heat to go, it will erupt violently through cracks in the crust. Have you felt it? The Earth is no longer your anchor. It has become a pressure cooker ready to explode at any moment. And we, living on the lid of this pot, can't even stand steady, it's become a luxury. This feeling is like sitting in a bus with no shock absorbers and a broken steering shaft as it races full speed down a winding mountain road. You ask me, what can humanity do in the face of astrophysical kinetic energy on that scale? Our much-touted carbon-neutral global climate agreements are as insignificant as a scrap of paper swept away by a gale. Our crops will suffer massive crop failures due to the complete chaos of daylight hours. Plants won't know when to bloom or pollinate. Insects won't know when to awaken. The entire Earth's biological clock has been utterly shattered. Have you noticed how our usual complaints about whether the weather forecast is accurate sound like nothing more than a cold joke at that moment? Because on such a planet, prediction no longer exists. All that remains is endless randomness and the fear of the next extreme weather event. And this is where it gets interesting. We've always believed that the cornerstones of civilization are writing, gunpowder, and the internet. But in reality, civilization's most hidden cornerstone is that stable seasonal cycle spanning hundreds of millions of years. It is the moon with its barren body, shielding us from the wildest chaos in the cosmos, granting us a greenhouse-like environment for growth. Without it, Earth would be nothing more than a madly spinning, lonely, wandering dead star in the cosmos. But that's not the most despairing part. While our bodies endure the torment of the climate, our brains and our survival instincts will also face a catastrophic disaster. Because over the next few tens of thousands of years, Earth will not only become ugly, it will also go blind. This is what we're going to talk about next. That cursed, lightless ecological chain. Have you noticed that humans are actually a very arrogant species? We always think that by inventing the electric light, we've bid farewell to the night forever. But did you know that for over 80% of Earth's creatures, their life rhythms, reproductive instincts, and even their success in hunting are all etched into the moon's guiding light, the first night after the moon disappears? For humans, might just mean one less streetlight, but for hundreds of millions of migrating animals, it's a devastating blindness. Those migratory birds and sea turtles that rely on lunar phases and magnetic fields to undertake their long, arduous journeys will find their navigation systems completely paralyzed. They will circle aimlessly over the open sea until they are completely exhausted and fall in droves into the raging waves. This is quite interesting. You might think that a few dead birds are no big deal, but you must understand, these migrants are the porters of the global ecosystem. Without them, seeds from distant lands cannot be dispersed. Pests lose their natural predators, and the once balanced food web will collapse across vast areas, like a spiderweb with its main thread severed. Even more tragic is the fate of marine life. Have you heard of coral spawning? It is one of the most spectacular celebrations of life on Earth. At a specific time each year, countless coral polyps sense the faint glow of the full moon and synchronously release trillions of eggs. This synchronization, precise to the second, relies entirely on the moon as its conductor. Now that conductor has broken, the corals no longer spawn in sync. The larvae are left helpless in the ocean and are quickly devoured by predators. This means that coral reefs, the cradle of marine life, will completely bleach and die within decades. You might say, the coral is dead, but that's still far removed from me. Yet a far more brutal truth lies hidden here. The collapse of the marine ecosystem means the Earth's largest oxygen factory has shut down. The oxygen humans breathe does not come primarily from forests, but from phytoplankton in the ocean. And the survival of these plants depends on the deep-sea nutrient cycle, driven by lunar tides. Without the vigorous churning of the tides, the ocean will turn into a stagnant pool. The nutrient-rich, cold water at the bottom won't rise to the surface, and the phytoplankton at the surface will starve to death in vast swathes. Put simply, after the moon disappears, Earth's atmosphere will grow increasingly thin. Carbon dioxide levels will skyrocket out of control due to the loss of consumption. It feels like moving into a room with the doors and windows shut tight, while the number of people inside keeps growing. Every breath you take is becoming increasingly murky and increasingly heavy. Meanwhile, on land, the agricultural systems humanity takes pride in are undergoing a massacre of time. Plant growth follows a cycle. They sense the length of daylight and the subtle shifts in gravity. When the Earth sways like a drunken man, and a day shrinks to just a few hours, the plant's internal clocks would go completely haywire. Rice doesn't know when to fill out. Wheat doesn't know when to go dormant. The seeds you plant may have just sprouted, only to be frozen solid by a sudden, half-month-long polar night. Like popsicles, this is the true face of a global famine. Not because we lack technology, but because we have lost the most basic natural order. At this stage, you will discover that the underlying reality of human civilization is actually quite bleak. Those so-called financial hubs and high-tech parks, in the face of empty stomachs, are worth less than a tissue to wipe away sweat. People will come to blows over the last can of expired luncheon meat. The morality, laws, and social contracts of the past will, in the midst of relentless darkness and hunger, melt away as swiftly as snow in the sun. Have you noticed? We've always believed we lived in a fortress, but in reality we have always merely been living in a fragile bubble woven by the moon's gravity. And now that bubble has burst. With the collapse of the ecological chain, humanity will be forced to face an even more ultimate dilemma. When Earth is no longer that warm cradle, when it becomes a barren planet running naked through the cosmos, at any moment in danger of being struck by an asteroid, where can we, this group of lonely survivors, possibly hide? Humankind has always possessed a mysterious self-confidence, believing that as long as technology is advanced enough, we can, just like in sci-fi movies, force our survival in any extreme environment. But reality will slap you in the face. When the moon disappears, Earth not only loses its ballast, but also its most loyal bulletproof vest. Just look at the pockmarks all over the moon's face. Those are the impacts it has absorbed for Earth over billions of years. It acts like a massive gravitational trap, pulling those little stars and meteors hurtling toward Earth, one by one toward itself. Now that the bodyguard is gone, Earth in the solar system is like a naked child running into a quarry full of flying rocks. Those celestial visitors once blocked by the moon will now crash down on our heads unimpeded. The atmosphere will burn away, and burn away, or even be torn open by massive shockwaves. This is quite interesting. To survive, humankind will have no choice but to begin a downward exile. The Earth's surface will no longer be habitable. Hurricanes will sweep through at hundreds of kilometers per hour, leveling every landmark, Extreme temperature fluctuations will make concrete as brittle as a cookie, so the surviving humans will retreat to abandoned mines, deep within rock formations at the bottom of the ocean, or within newly formed lava tubes, created by the violent upheavals of the Earth's crust. We once gazed up at the stars and dreamed of colonizing Mars, but now we can only, like groundhogs, scrape by in the dark, damp underground. At this stage, you will discover that human civilization has undergone an extremely bizarre regression. Because without moonlight, and without stable seasons, all our agriculture must rely on expensive artificial lighting. Every kilowatt-hour of electricity, every drop of purified water, every breath of oxygen has become a luxury with a fixed price tag. To put it bluntly, in such an environment, social class will solidify to a despairingly rigid degree. Those who can live on the upper levels and breathe filtered air will always be a tiny minority, while the vast majority can only spend the rest of their lives in poorly ventilated, moldy underground caverns. What is even more cruel is that due to the Earth's axis oscillating erratically, we can't even build long-term underground cities. You might just have finished digging a shelter, but decades later, the movement of the crust will turn this place into a vent for erupting lava. You'll find that humanity has become a nomadic, cave-dwelling species. We search for faint glimmers of life in the Earth's fissures, like shadows, scraping by on this planet that once belonged to us. This feeling is like living in a dilapidated hotel that could catch fire at any moment, and that no one repairs. You don't know if tomorrow you'll be woken by an alarm clock, or by seawater flooding into the underground cavern. And amidst this extreme loneliness and oppression, the human psyche will suffer an even more terrifying collapse. Due to the prolonged absence of the sun and the gentle moon of the past, the human endocrine system will be completely disrupted. Depression, mania, and cognitive impairment will become the standard condition for those living underground. Our descendants may not even know what a blue sky is, or what the stars are. In their vocabulary, the moon will be nothing more than a mythical term found in ancient e-books. This raises a profoundly philosophical question. If humanity loses the right to gaze at the stars, if our world is left with nothing but grey rocks and artificial light, can we still be called a civilization? The even crueler truth is that even if we struggle to survive, we are merely waiting for that final judgment. Because, having lost the moon's gravitational pull to slow its rotation, Earth's magnetic field may gradually weaken due to the chaos of currents in the Earth's core. This means the solar wind will act like a scorching brush, slowly brushing away our oxygen, brushing away our water. Earth will become more and more like Mars, dry, cold, and lifeless. Have you ever realized that we always thought the moon was just a dispensable ornament? In reality, it is the very final barrier sustaining life on Earth. It has stood by us unwaveringly for 4.5 billion years, trading its barrenness for our prosperity. Only when it truly departs will we understand what true cosmic-level loneliness feels like. But don't rush to despair. In the final chapter, we'll talk about the most extreme touch of romance behind this cruelty. In the field of astronomy, there is a very famous hypothesis called the giant impact hypothesis. Simply put, 4.5 billion years ago, a Mars-sized planet slammed into the nascent Earth. That impact destroyed everything. But it also left behind a cosmic legacy. That impact not only created Earth's axial tilt, but also flung out vast amounts of debris, which eventually coalesced into the Moon. Had it not been for that catastrophic collision, Earth might have remained forever a lifeless, rocky sphere spinning wildly off-axis. You'll realize that the very existence of life is actually due to a catastrophic accident. The Moon is like a precision counterweight on a scale. It's neither too much nor too little. It's exactly at that distance, and exactly that mass, with its barren, scarred body, secured a stable window of opportunity, lasting billions of years, for the birth of carbon-based life. This is quite fascinating. We always think of ourselves as the protagonists of the universe, and believe the Earth exists for our sake. But the truth is, we merely inhabit an extremely unstable laboratory, built upon countless coincidences. The disappearance of the Moon is essentially like unplugging the power source of this laboratory. It reveals to us the cruelest of truths. Stability is the greatest luxury in the universe. On those moonless planets, life may once have taken root, but most perished in the violent wobble of their axes, died in erratic ice ages and seas of fire, died in stagnant waters devoid of tidal movement. That we could evolve brains, create civilizations, write poetry, is all thanks to that cold, lifeless rock, 380,000 kilometers away. That shields us from the storm, is shielding us from the bullets. Have you ever noticed that sense of loneliness actually carries a kind of ultimate romance? Every person who stares blankly at the Moon in the dead of night is, in their subconscious, connecting with it, across time and space through gravity. The salt in our blood echoes the ancient oceans. The calcium in our bones may well come from the stars of that ancient collision. If the Moon were to truly vanish, the end of human civilization is actually an inevitable return to physical logic. The universe is not evil. It simply doesn't care. It doesn't care how tall your skyscrapers are. It doesn't care how much Bitcoin you've saved. Nor does it care how unwilling you are to accept it. In the face of the laws of physics, all civilizations are merely dancing, a fleeting yet magnificent dance, on the edge of the second law of thermodynamics. When the Moon, this dance partner, withdraws, the dance must come to an end. But there is a deeper perspective here. Though we may be clinging to life in basements, though our descendants may never see moonlight again, we once observed it. This fact has been forever etched into the universe's information bank. Just like that famous line, all these moments will eventually fade away with time, just as tears vanish in the rain. But before the Moon disappears, before disaster strikes, have you ever wondered how we should define this possession? We always calculate value only after we've lost it. We complain that the moonlight isn't bright enough. We complain that the tides have delayed our voyage. Yet we've never considered that it is precisely these seemingly mundane daily moments that form the sturdiest deck of civilization. This is what I want to tell you. The most subversive conclusion about the Moon's disappearance. Its existence isn't to adorn your night sky, but to imbue existence itself with meaning. If tonight you open the window and find the Moon is still there, please be sure to take one more look at it, because it is not merely a satellite. It is Earth's guardian, the tuning gong of life, our only safety net. In the pitch-black cosmos, when, for 0.5 billion years from now, it is finally pushed away from Earth by tidal forces, or vanishes into thin air as we hypothesize. That is the universe telling us that the miracle performance of life has come to an end.